A line has slope -6/9 and y-intercept at 0, 16. Find the equation of the line, which I'm simply going to call EOL from now on. So when I ask you to put an equation of a line, what's the first thing pops in your head? Whenever you answer math questions, it's asking you, says find the equation of a line. So what does it look like? What's the answer supposed to look like? Y equals mx plus b. Right. So we know what the answer is supposed to look like. Now let's plug in what we know. What is m? -7/9 x plus what's b? 16. Yep. And there's your equation of line. So far, straightforward. Let's change it up some. A line has slope -2/3 and contains the point -3, 6. Find the EOL. I'm going to show you two ways of doing this one. To use the slope intercept form, what do you need? In order to use the slope intercept form, what do you need? You have to have the slope, and then you have to have the y-intercept. Do we have both of those? No. We don't have the y-intercept. That's a point. The y-intercept starts with 0. This is just the point. So let's see what we have here. We have y equals mx plus b. So we have, what does this one represent? That's your slope, which is -2/3. What does this represent? That's your x value. And this represents your y value. The only thing we're missing is b. So find b. The 3's cancel. The negatives cancel. So we have 6 equals 2 plus b. Subtract 2. B equals 4. So we know m equals -2/3 and b equals 4. So our equation of a line is y equals -2/3x plus 4. And there's our equation of a line. If you don't have something you're looking for, find it, plug in what you have, and then see what you're missing. Or we could have used the point slope formula. The point slope formula is this. No, that'll come out later on. That's the point slope formula. Why is it called a point slope formula? What does M represent? What do X1, Y1 represent? It's a point. Since we have a point and a slope, we could have used this one. Remember, our slope in the last equation was -2/3, and we were given the point -3, 6. So we could have just used this. Remember, Y and X, you don't touch. All you do is change M, X1, and Y1. So Y minus 6 equals -2/3, X minus -3. Once you plug everything in there, solve for Y. So we have -2/3. Inside, we have a negative and negative, so it becomes a positive. What do you do next? Here's, most of you will say, we distribute to get rid of the parentheses. But how many of y'all do not like working with fractions? Let's get rid of the fractions. Whenever you have a fraction as a coefficient and an equal sign, get rid of the fraction. First, find the LCD of this equation. What's the LCD of this equation? But what is it in this equation? 3. Yeah, it's the only denominator. So LCD is equal to 3. How many terms do I have in this equation? What are they?
The M, the X.
In this equation, this is what we're looking at.
Oh.
I mean, we're going down here. We're working. How many terms? What are they?
5, 6.
Yeah. Here's one term. Here's one term. And this is one term. Anything separated by a plus, minus, or equals, this is multiplied. So the second step is multiply LCD to each term. Multiply the LCD to each term. Remember, LCD is 3, so we have 3 times Y minus 3 times 6 equals 3 times -2/3 X plus 3. This is your term, that's your term, and that's your term. So far, so good? First, find the LCD, multiply it to each term. Always reduce before you multiply fractions. Nothing here, so the 3's here can cancel. So that gives us 3y, 3 times 6, nothing in front, so it's negative 2x plus 3. Multiply to remove the parentheses. 3 times y is 3y, minus 3 times 6 is 18. Negative 2 times positive is negative 2x. Negative times positive is negative. 2 times 3 is 6. And then solve for y in this case. So solve for y. What do we have to do first? Get rid of the 18. Add 18 to both sides. Three y equals negative 2x. 18 and 6, they have opposite signs. Take the sign of the bigger number. 18 minus 6 is 12. Divide by 3. Negative 2/3 x. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And this is my EOL. This is the same thing we got last time. Remember when we just used the y equals mx plus b and plugged in everything, solved for b, and then plugged it in there? Before we move on, where do these equations come from? There's actually one more. There's one more equation called the standard form. That's ax plus by equals c. What's it? That's when you have all the x's and y on one side. That's called the standard form. But where does it all come from? Where? It is a linear function. All these equations, the standard form is ax plus by equals c. X and y same sign. It all starts, remember the names. We have slope, intercept. We have point, slope. And we have standard. What word appears the most in those three forms? Slope. We begin with the slope. That's where it all begins. Whenever you have fractions and equal sign, what do you always do? Get rid of the fractions. How? Multiply the denominator to both sides. So if I take x2 minus x1, if I get rid of those, I got y2 minus y1 equals m x2 minus x1. What does that look like? The point slope. Because now I only need 1 point and a slope, so this is the point slope form. So from the slope, we multiply both sides by the denominator, we get the point slope form. From the point slope form, once we define, let's say y1, let's say we have the point 2, 3, and the slope equals 4. So this is x1, this is y1. Once I define my variables, if I solve for y, add 3. Now my equation looks like what? This is the slope-intercept form. Again, it all started from the slope equation. Multiply both sides by the denominator, you get the point slope. Plug in a point and a slope, you get the slope-intercept form. Now, if I move the x's and y's to one side, the only stipulation is a cannot equal 0, and it must be positive. So, since that's negative, I change all the signs. Now I'm in standard form. What do you think? Now, the last thing we're going to talk about today, well, let me put those 3 equations we have. We start from the slope. We have the point slope, the slope-intercept, and the standard form. Point slope, slope-intercept, and standard. Parallel versus perpendicular lines. The symbols we use for these, for parallel lines, we'll just use those 2 lines. And for perpendicular, it's an upside down T. How do you know if you have 2 lines? How do you know if 2 lines are parallel or perpendicular? Let's say that's y1 equals mx1 plus b1, y2 equals m so x2 plus b2. Two lines are parallel if the slopes are equal. Two lines are parallel if the slopes are equal. Two lines are perpendicular if the slopes are negative reciprocals. What is negative reciprocal? Flip the slope and change the sign. That's a negative reciprocal. These two lines are parallel because the slopes are equal. And the y-intercepts are different. If the slopes were the same and the intercepts were the same, what do we have? The same line. So in order to be parallel, they have to have the same slope but different y-intercepts. To be perpendicular, the y-intercept doesn't matter. It's just the slope that matters. If the slope is 3, what's the perpendicular slope? -1/3. Because remember, 3 is 3/1. Flip it and change the sign. That's how you know if the perpendicular. Do a couple of examples. Y plus 2 equals 5x. And 5y plus x equals -15. Tell me if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. What form do they have to be in to determine this? Slope, you have to solve for y. Yeah, so solve for y. So this one, I got to subtract by 2. 5x minus 2. This one, I got to subtract x. And then divide by 5. So it's -1/5 x minus 3. So are they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Here's the slope of one of them. Here's the slope of the second one. Are they opposite signs? That's a good sign. This is 5/1. Is this flipped? So it's perpendicular. These two lines are perpendicular.
Because I was thinking for the -3 and -2.
Though no, for the
Yeah, I
perpendicular,
remember it didn't
the
matter.
y-intercepts don't matter because they can cross on the y-axis. 2y plus 4x equals 8. 5 plus 2x equals -y. First step is what? On the left side. Move the 4x over. So subtract 4x from both sides because we're solving for y. So it's -4x plus 8. Divide by 2. -2x plus 4. Here's the first equation. And the second one, you have y by itself, you just have to get rid of the negative. How do you get rid of the negative? Just change the signs across the board. So that becomes a -5, minus 2x equals y, or y equals negative 2x minus 5. The slope of this one is negative 2. The slope of this one is negative 2. And the y-intercepts are different. So what are these? Are they parallel, perpendicular, or neither? They're parallel. Very good. Because they have the same slopes, different y-intercepts. And one last one real quick. 2x plus 1 equals y. Y plus 3x equals 4. Now, the first one's already set up, so it's y equals 2x plus 1. The slope is 2. And the other one, what I got to do? Subtract 3x, move the 3 over there. So I get y equals minus 3x plus 4. The slope is negative 3. Are they equal? Are they reciprocals? Since the slopes are neither equal nor reciprocals, it's neither. All right. We'll do one more example next time, but then other than that, we're finished with this. Yeah, and I'll give you a whole bunch of example of the summary of this section right here. Horizontal lines, equations, and all that sort of stuff. So memorize that. All right. See you all Wednesday.